Our speaker tonight is my father, Christopher R. Donoho III. My dad grew up in Wilmington, Delaware, and was a lifer at Tower Hill School. From there, he went on to study at Brown University, where he majored in business economics. After graduating, he attended Vanderbilt Law School, where he met my mother and received his JD. He has worked as a business restructuring, distressed company, and bankruptcy lawyer his entire career. He is now the global head of business restructuring and insolvency practice at Hogan Levels, one of the top 10 global law firms. Although most of his time is spent working in New York, his move back to Wilmington in 2010 brought him back to his roots. His time home allows him to be that one guy who yells during all of the Tower Hill soccer games. Welcome back, Christopher Donoho.
Thank you. I can see Marcus clapping. Thank you, Marcus. All right. Thank you, Aidan. Thanks, everybody, for having me. I hear global head, and all I see is my big head in the screen. I'm still getting used to this whole formatting. Look, it's an unbelievable honor for me to have been asked to say a few words to this class. I feel like I know so many of you. Like I watched you grow up, gotten to know you since Aidan joined in 3rd grade. And I've been looking forward to this dinner since Matt asked me long enough ago when it was actually going to be a dinner and it was going to be a different date and time. So I have no dinner. I have no dinner for you. But I'm hoping that this will be memorable nonetheless. I also had a whole speech written out and prepared, which now feels a little bit irrelevant. But there's parts of it that I think are still relevant. So what I'm going to do, and I promise you this is only going to be about 10 minutes. I've timed it. So if you can hang in for 10 minutes, it's way shorter than your classes. We'll get through this. But my original presentation was about being your best self and living your best life. And I want to talk about that. And it's going to segue, hopefully naturally, into what I now really want to talk about, which is resilience. And those two things actually have a way of connecting with each other, and I'll get to that. But let's start by imagining we're all sitting in Bessie's living room at tables around. You have a nice piece of chicken or something in front of you. You're sitting at a table with 8 of your friends. I'm walking around the room, maybe making you a little nervous. I might call on you. So to bring that kind of anxiety and formality into this, and then that'll set the stage for the dinner that you would have had. And so here goes. This is my presentation. For those of you who have perfect grades and are going to win all the awards at graduation, congratulations. That's awesome. That's cool. But this speech isn't for you. This speech is for the rest of you, which is most of you. The people that don't get recognized and may feel like maybe sometimes you don't matter at Tower Hill. Like many seniors, you may have stopped caring a while ago. You probably have senioritis. Probably just want to be done with this whole dinner and this whole thing, be done with high school, and maybe this guy can stop talking and we can just move on. So I was you. I was that guy. Monty, I think, was also that guy. He's on the phone here. We were those people. We didn't win academic awards ever. I got 0, none. My parents knew I went to Tower Hill. My mom came to some of my soccer games. My dad saw me play in some of my state tennis tournaments from behind the trees about a half a mile away from the court with dark glasses on and hats, hiding, which is perfectly great and fine. But I didn't exactly walk out of Tower Hill on some kind of red carpet. But I'm here to tell you that your education from Tower Hill has prepared you for life in ways that you don't even realize. You had to work pretty hard, some of the time or a lot of the time. You had teachers constantly watching you to making sure that you were participating and getting involved. You got exposed to whole new ideas, new ways of thinking. And so believe it or not, you're leaving high school very prepared academically for what happens next. That's all you. You got this. When you go to college, you'll be ready. Your classes, they're not going to be as hard as you think. You're there. So know that going in, you have that. Many of your college classmates, they won't be as ready as you, and they're going to struggle. Trust me, take advantage of that and be confident in your ability. The second piece I want to talk to you about, though, is the social piece. That's a little more tricky, and that transition to college is more difficult. It's made even more difficult by this current environment. It's a challenge. You're coming from Delaware, also known as Delaware. When I started in college and was asked by someone in my new freshman dorm where I was from, and I answered Delaware, she grabbed me by the hand, which you were allowed to do back then. She ran me down the hall, down the stairs, across the hall to another room, and she exclaimed to her friend, "Hey, I told you it wasn't true. This guy is actually from Delaware." So that was awkward. That was a rough start. That's a true story. That did not make me feel awesome and welcome and like from, the world. So I was really unprepared for life outside of Delaware and for stepping forward. I don't know that you get that so much, coming out of a place like Tower Hill. And so my freshman year, I was kind of lost. I was lonely at some times. I didn't always get involved in things, and I kind of waited for things to come to me. Don't do that. Jump in, get involved right away. You're super smart, you're super capable, and you've been trained really, really well, but you may lack some confidence. You may not feel important. You weren't an award winner, right? You may be shy or maybe self-conscious. So don't be that version of yourself. Take that Tower Hill education and dive in. So it wasn't until my own sophomore year that I made a true friend, and for me, things changed completely. That friend can be honest with you, the one who can help you bring out your best person. Maybe you've met that person, maybe you haven't, but they exist. I remember right after I met my friend, I hadn't cut my hair in a long time, and I tried to have like a longer look before it all went away. Marcus, you can stop laughing now. Thank you. He stopped me in the middle of the main green and said quite loudly, actually, in front of a bunch of big people, "Donoho, you're a good looking guy. You look ridiculous. Go get a haircut." So yeah, so from there, I basically immediately went and got my haircut. But that's a true friend. From there, we became best friends, and he brought out all the best in me. We ran the on-campus bar together. We led the crowd at the ice hockey games and cheers. We had impromptu dance parties in the middle of the road with passersby. We went to Ben and Jerry's on Tuesdays. Such a heavenly experience referred to as going to church. We had food jousting in the cafeteria. We had debates about music. We had impromptu trips to nearby colleges. We were having fun. We were confident. We were living our best life. So I would implore you to find that person in your life and be that person for someone else, right? So what if you weren't the top of your class in high school? At college, no one cares. It doesn't matter. Your life actually starts now. And this Tower Hill experience was just a warm up, right? And you've done everything you need to do. You're ready, awards or not. So go out, live your best life. Great things will happen to you if you do. So that was my speech up until the global pandemic. I felt like that was a pretty good start, but it felt right, but it didn't feel like it captured the moment. So, and that was the short version. But I want to segue that and talk to you about resilience. And you'll see where I'm going with this. It's the ability to overcome adversity at difficult times, to hang in there when things get tough and other people are falling down around you. This is a skill that I've developed over time, and I implore you to work at all times on being resilient. At no point in your lives has this ever been more true than during this pandemic. And I'd say, for me, this pandemic, this isn't the hardest thing I've had to overcome, not really even by a mile. And I want you to know that unfortunately, this won't be the hardest thing that you ever have to overcome in your life either, but you'll get through it. I want you to embrace this time and make the very most of it. Let it shape you, but don't let it define you. Be resilient and move forward. When I graduated from college, I had friends and that confidence I talked about and the joy, but one thing I didn't have was a job. So I fulfilled a promise I made to my best friend in high school at Tower Hill. I grabbed a backpack, bought a round trip ticket to Europe, and off I went for 6 weeks with about $500. It was a defining experience. I learned how to sleep on a train and on the deck of a ship. I was accosted by gypsies in Rome. I was threatened by pickpockets in France. I was approached in Portugal by so many drug dealers I lost count. I was searched by screaming armed soldiers in Yugoslavia in what turned out to be 3 days before civil war broke out and the country was shattered forever. That was not an easy trip, but I came away a stronger person. When I got home and found out that I had been accepted into law school only 2 days before class was to start, wow. Did I shrug that off? Nope. I packed my car, drove 12 hours slept on the couch of a Tower Hill basketball teammate, Rusty Darling, for Matt and Monty, and went to my first day of orientation. I took the chance. As I started my first job at a law firm, a mentor then told me, look, you can go there, but you'll never make partner at that firm. They just don't make partners. But I hung in there, I made a name for myself, and 8 years later, I did make partner. Resilience, right? At my second firm, it merged shortly after I started with that other firm, and my bosses all changed, and the whole dynamic was different. I was the new guy. Some of the old people wanted me gone because they were afraid for their own jobs. At my first review, I was given absolutely the worst review I've ever received. I was told I was too much of a street lawyer. I don't even know what that is, but too much of a street lawyer, clearly not meant to be a good thing, and given no particular encouragement to stay at my job. But I believed in myself, and I saw that they were the ones who were wrong and uninformed, and they would eventually be run out, and they were. Since then, all those people who gave me those reviews, they've retired or they've been forced out of the firm, and I now run our global practice. That's resilience. Had I left in frustration, I might never have had the chances that I've been fortunate enough to experience. Resilience is something you always have to have with you. It can get called on at any time. Remember that friend I was just talking about, the one from college, the one who taught me to be my best self? Well, 4 years after we graduated, while he was driving, he was killed in a head-on collision with a truck caused by someone driving recklessly on the other side of the road. My best friend, gone at age 25. But that's not my only tragedy I've had to overcome with resilience. I've held both of my parents' hands as they died. On 9/11, I watched both planes hit the Twin Towers from the deck of a ferry just inside the seaport, right in front of those buildings. I saw people jumping from the tower to avoid burning to death. Terrible, terrible things I have seen and I've experienced. But those don't define me. They don't hold me back. They've just been events in my life that I've had to overcome with resilience. This, for many of you, I hope, is your first test in life. It's scary. It's a once every 100-year event that happens to be during your senior year of high school. But this will not define you. But it is how you respond to this that will shape your life. Will you learn lessons from this, like the importance of family, who your true friends are, how fragile the world really is? How will you emerge from this? Will you be resilient and spring forward? In planning for this presentation, I went to look to see what others had said on the subject. By far, the best was J.K. Rowling's presentation at Harvard's graduation in 2008 about failure and overcoming. It's on YouTube, so please give it a watch. It's fantastic. And she's a much better speaker than I am. She talked about being so poor after college, she couldn't get any lower. But actually, that time in her life without a job gave her the time she needed and the focus to be able to write the books that she had always imagined. And I would say they turned out okay. So from this time of crisis, what's going to be your Harry Potter achievement? Are you going to embrace the good things that you have? Are you going to appreciate the special opportunities that you've been given in life and ahead of you and take that special part of you forward? Or are you going to feel sorry for yourself, spend all day in your pajamas watching videos of cats falling off refrigerators, right? And wish this was just all over. Be resilient. Embrace this tragedy. I want to leave you with this important thought. It's okay to feel sad and happy at the same time. That's really okay. I was devastated to lose my friend, but his guidance and energy are still with me. I was so fortunate to have had great parents and learned so much from them, even if they aren't here today. I also found great joys during 9/11. I remember coming home that morning, picking up my daughter from school and thinking how lucky I am to be alive and see her. Learn from this, take it all with you as you go forward to college, and be your best self. See how I loop back to the first part there? Be resilient when the next hurdles in your life confront you, and they will. And know that, awards or not, the Tower Hill community will always be there for you. As one of my life idols, Winston Churchill, remarked, and it wouldn't be a high school speech without one of those quotes from a historical figure. He said, "If you're going through hell, keep going." So my Tower Hill friends and community have always been a system of support for me, and I urge you to keep going through this hell, but know that this group of people, not just the students, but everyone in this virtual room, your teachers, the Alumni Council, your fellow alums, will be there to help you along the way. Thank you.